Hey guys, how's it going? Today I want to talk about poinsettia plants because we're seeing a lot of them this time of year. I just want to talk about like how to pick out the best one, how to keep them looking really nice. But before I get into any of that information, I did want to address how to pronounce the word poinsettia because you might hear it one of two ways. You might hear poinsettia and you might hear poinsettia. I do think it's regional. I grew up saying poinsettia. I know a lot of people from the Midwest say poinsettia. There is an I in the word, but I think over time the I has kind of been dropped. The dictionary actually lists both pronunciations as being proper. So there you go. I just wanted to talk about that first. Poinsettias are a type of euphorbia native to Mexico, so a very warm, humid, tropical type environment. And it's kind of funny that we've adopted them to be kind of a traditional holiday plant, which it's the coldest time of the year for most of us here in the United States. But in their native climate, that's the time of year that they start to color up and look beautiful like this. And what we think of as poinsettia flowers are actually not flowers at all. They're modified leaves called bracts that when they're given the right light conditions, they color up like this beautifully and they help attract pollinators to their actual blooms, which are very tiny and clustered right in the middle in the center of all the bracts. And there are a lot of different varieties of poinsettia. I think I read somewhere that there's over 100 different varieties, not just plain old red and white, but there's all kinds of pinks, maroon, purple. There's multicolored. There's poinsettias with variegated leaves like this one here. There's also different sizes, just like in all your other plant areas like in shrubs and stuff. You'll find shrubs that are dwarf and some that get really large. Same goes for poinsettias, and some have different shaped blooms. So I want to break the rest of this video up into 3 different sections. The first section I want to talk about how to pick out the best poinsettia, what to look for. Second section is how to keep it looking its best as a seasonal plant. And then the third section is how to take care of it year-round if you're going to try to keep it and get it to bloom the following year. So first up is how to pick out the best poinsettia. Now there's some obvious things. You want to take a look at the plant, make sure it's nice and full, it's not leggy, make sure that all the leaves look firm, not wilted, that they're not damaged. You also want to take a look at the top layer of bracts surrounding the blooms. If they're not fully colored up and there's still some green in there, your plant will start losing its color really quickly after you bring it home. You also want to take a look at those blooms clustered in the center. If they've already started to fall off, then you know your plant isn't fresh. You'll want to avoid buying any poinsettia that's been displayed in a drafty area, like near a door. I cringe when I go into some box stores and you know that lobby in between the front door and the main door to the store, like where the carts are kept? Oftentimes you'll see a huge display of seasonal plants, poinsettias this time of year, and those plants are just getting blasted by hot air from where the carts are being kept, and then they're getting huge drafts of cold air as the front door opens and closes all day long. So it's very likely that you pick one of those plants out and take it home, they'll start dropping their leaves right away. So when you do find one that has been displayed in a proper area, you will want to make sure that whoever is checking you out puts a sleeve around the poinsettia or ask for a separate bag so you can kind of put it over the top, because you'll want to make sure to protect your plant from the trip from the store to your car and then the car into your home. You don't want to subject it to any extra cold temperatures. In this next section, I want to talk to you about how you can keep your poinsettias looking the best throughout the holiday season and blooming and beautiful. Most people only keep them as a seasonal plant because they're inexpensive to replace, and to get them to bloom the following year is a super fussy process that most people don't want to mess with. So here are my 5 tips. The first one is light exposure. You want to put your poinsettia in a very bright location. So like a southwest or east facing window is perfect. You just want to make sure if you have them near a window that their leaves are not touching the glass, because the glass can get quite cold even if the ambient temperature in the room is nice. And if those leaves touch that cold window, they can be damaged and start to fall off. The second thing is temperature. So poinsettias like temps like we do, so somewhere between 65 and 75 degrees. Again, they do not want to be in an area that's drafty, so no putting them near doorways or near air registers, because that can make their leaves fall off prematurely. The third thing is watering, and you want to make sure to water your poinsettia when the top layer of soil dries out, which could mean something a little bit different for all of us. We heat with wood in our house, which makes the air very dry, so I find that I'm watering a little bit more often. And the winter months tend to be drier anyway, so we're probably going to be watering these a little bit more than we would at other times of the year. They also do not want to be sitting in any standing water. Very few plants like that. So you want to make sure that if your poinsettia comes in this decorative foil sleeve, that you slit the bottom, or cut holes in it so the water has a chance to escape. So what I like to do is when that top layer of soil dries out, I'll water it very thoroughly until the water's running out the bottom, and then I'll let it sit in its saucer for just a few minutes so that water has a chance to all drain out, and then I'll pour out the remainder. And you want to be pretty hands-on with your poinsettia during the holiday season if you want them to keep looking like this. So maybe finger test the soil for moisture, because if you let them dry out too much and they wilt even a little bit, that can cause their leaves to drop off prematurely as well. The fourth tip is to provide humidity if you can. Because these are tropical plants that come from a humid environment, they really benefit from extra moisture in the air. So if you can remember to mist them maybe on a daily basis or every other day, they would really benefit from that. You can also place them near a humidifier, and I know that's not always practical because we don't have humidifiers all around our house. You can put them where you've got other houseplants grouped. Because wherever you've got several houseplants, they kind of create their own microclimate, which means a little bit more humidity in the air. The fifth thing I wanted to talk about was the toxicity of poinsettias, because I feel like they have a really bad reputation as being a really poisonous, toxic plant when they are not. They are only mildly poisonous, and you would have to eat a tremendous amount of the leaves in order to even get an upset stomach. And I've heard a lot that they're toxic to pets. I actually worked at a vet clinic for 5.5 years, never once had an animal brought in because of a poinsettia overdose. I mean, we saw the normal things like a dog got into the chocolate bag or ate a bunch of onions or grapes, that sort of thing, but never poinsettias. The biggest issue with these is because they're a type of euphorbia, if you accidentally break one of the branches or fold a leaf in half, those open wounds can ooze kind of a white sap, and if that sap gets on your skin, it can cause an itchy rash, which is not a serious thing. It will go away, but that is the biggest issue with poinsettias. Of course, you can play it safe, keep them out of the reach of pets or kids, which you probably want to do anyway because you don't want them to be knocked down onto the ground and make a mess and have your plant all broken up. The last part of this video, I want to talk about year-round care of this plant and how you can get it to rebloom the following season. I know most of you probably won't care about this section because most of you won't be tackling this, and you can find a lot more detailed information if you look online. There's a lot of really good guides, but I thought I would just go through and give you a brief month-by-month schedule of what you should be doing with your plants. So from January through March, it's really easy. You just want to maintain your regular watering schedule. The colorful bracts on the top will start to fade and will eventually start falling off your plant. At that point, you can start fertilizing, and you just want to use just a well-balanced fertilizer. I grabbed some. This is Espoma's indoor fertilizer. This would work great. Just use the recommended rates on the bottle every 2 weeks. In spring, around mid-March to the beginning of April, you want to start gradually decreasing how much water you're giving your plant. You want to do it very gradually though, because you do not want to get your plant to the point of wilting. And about 2 weeks after you start that process, you want to move your plant to a cooler spot, somewhere right around 60 degrees. In mid-May, you're going to want to cut your plant back because by this point, it's probably not looking that great. You're probably dealing with some legginess. It's probably lost some leaves. You may even have some bare branches. And by cutting it back, you'll stimulate a bunch of new growth. So I like to take mine down by about half. Some people say you can take them down to about 4 to 6 inches, but it will depend, just depending on what size of poinsettia you have. And after you're done cutting it back, you'll want to repot your poinsettia. Now I'm not doing any of these steps right now because obviously we're right in the middle of the holiday season and these plants are looking gorgeous, but I did grab some supplies just to show you what I would use. You would just want to use a regular potting mix, and then you would want to just bump up each poinsettia 1 pot size. So I brought this pot up to show you. So like this 4-inch poinsettia right here, I would bump it up just slightly into this 6-inch container right here, and that would be perfect. You'll also want to put your poinsettia back in a warmer spot that gets a lot of light. And then once nighttime temperatures stay above 50 outside, which for us is usually the end of May, beginning of June, you can safely display them outside. They actually thrive and do wonderfully outside if you can put them in a spot that gets really strong morning light, but's protected in the afternoon. You certainly don't have to do that. You can keep it inside all year round if you want to. So by sometime in July or early August, you'll notice a whole bunch of new growth on your plant. So you'll want to pinch it back at least 1 time. Pinching back is really easy. You just want to pinch all those new stems down by maybe 1 inch or 2, and that will encourage your plant to grow more side shoots, more bushy growth, and so you'll have a nice full plant. Now you can pinch it up to 3 times like June, July, and August if it's growing like crazy, but keep in mind that the more you pinch it, the smaller the bracts will be when the plant starts to color up. In September, you'll want to bring your poinsettias back inside if they've been displayed outside for the summer. Once the nights get a little bit longer and a little bit cooler, put them back in a warm spot that gets lots of light, continue watering normally, but at this point you'll want to start reducing the amount of fertilizer you give them. So either fertilize with half strength or just fertilize them half as often. So that's all pretty easy, and it fits in with a lot of our regular maintenance for our other potted plants because, you know, we're doing lots of grooming, repotting, watering, fertilizing. That's all really normal. But toward the end of September, beginning of October is when the real work begins for these, because poinsettias are what's called a short day plant. And what that means is that they need to be subjected in a 24-hour period to 12 to 15 hours of 100% complete darkness, and then the remaining hours can be regular light for 8 to 10 weeks in order to color up and bloom like this. So we have to create those conditions for this plant. If they're exposed to any light, and I'm talking like a little sliver of light underneath a door or car headlights, if they're exposed to any light during that 12 to 15 hours, that will delay their bloom time. So from about September 21st to October 1st, you need to start creating these conditions for your poinsettia. So you want to put it in darkness from about 5 p.m. to 8 a.m. You can put it in a sealed off closet where you know nobody is going to be opening the door and no light gets in. You could also leave your plant right where it sits in your home. Just find an opaque box where no light can get in and no light can get under it, and just put it over the top of your plant. That's probably the easiest way, so you're not, you know, putting your plant in and out of a closet, because that's what it takes. Every morning at 8 a.m. you have to either go get your plant out of a closet or take the box off the top so it can still get regular light. And you want to continue watering and fertilizing at half strength during this process, so at least that doesn't change, that stays routine. And then about mid to late November, the process should be done. You'll start noticing flower buds form. The bracts will start coloring up really nicely. At that point, you can bring your plant back out. You can stop the whole dark treatment, and then you want to stop fertilizing at that point. And then you can just enjoy your poinsettia by following the 5 tips I gave you earlier on in the video. And then you can start the whole process again if you want to try to get it to bloom the next year. So that's it, you guys. I hope you found this video helpful and interesting, and I hope it helps you keep your poinsettias looking amazing throughout the whole season. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye.